Hey everybody, welcome to video 2. We're going to talk a little bit about math classroom norms. And this norm selection comes from the book Intentional Talk by Elham Kazemi and Allison Hintz. So we think about this classroom, we're thinking about our classroom as pre-professional teachers, and we also are thinking about our primary and secondary classrooms that we will be the teachers in the future. Right? So how are we going to behave as adult learners? How are we wanting our students to behave? So we want everybody to make sense of the mathematics, keep trying even when the problems are challenging. Remember that it is okay to make mistakes and revise your thinking. Consider this list for a moment. Which norm resonates with you and why? Take a moment to jot it down. Let's look at a couple more norms. Sharing our mathematical ideas with our classmates, whether we are using words, numbers, pictures, gestures, or tools, and listen to understand someone else's idea. Give each other time to think. And this really turns traditional teaching on its head because traditional teaching focuses on the solution. And we now want to focus on why and how someone is thinking about math. Which norm resonates with you on this list? Finally, we want to ask questions that help us better understand the mathematics. Rather than just know what the solution is, we really want to dive deep and understand the math. We can agree and disagree with mathematical ideas, but not each other, and remain friends through it all. And remember that everyone has good mathematical ideas. Now consider this list. Which norm resonates with you and why? So we're also going to talk a little bit about the mindset ideas brought forth by Carol Dweck. So as we think about ourselves as teachers, we want to make sure that we have a growth mindset about our own practice as well as towards our students. We also want to grow growth mindsets in our students. So let's take a look at the green growth mindset. We want to feel that we can learn anything we want to, and we want our students to feel the same. We don't want frustration to get us down. In fact, we want to persevere through it. We want to challenge ourselves, know that when we fail or make mistakes or have partial understandings, we learn. And we want our effort and hard work to be acknowledged. If other people succeed, we're inspired, not threatened. And our effort and attitude determine everything for us. So this is a twofold challenge for you. Work on your mindset as an educator, how you're going to give yourself space to grow, and start to prepare how you're going to make your students also engage in a growth mindset. And there's a little bit of a third piece that we're going to talk about right now, where we also want to have a growth mindset when we look at our students, right? So we don't want to apply inherent biases towards our students, BIPOC students, students with diverse learning needs, ELL students. We want to make sure that we create a space where we can have every student be successful. So I particularly love this particular image because it shows the static nature of the fixed mindset with the bricks and the growth mindset as a space to thrive and grow without limits. So we also want to be reflective, right? So when things go wrong in the classroom, we don't want to point our fingers at the students. We want to look at what we did as educators and how did we impact that learning space and what can we change for next time. So when we have a growth mindset, we need to consider, are these beliefs something that we truly hold? Do we believe that all students can learn and be successful? That all learners are smart in their own unique ways? That we should assist students in believing that they're good and powerful learners? And that students should be challenged and rewarded for taking risks and rising to the challenge? Take a quiet moment to reflect. Which one is easiest for you to believe? Which one is hardest for you to believe? When we start to do that self-work, we start to look at those inherent biases that we might have. Some of them we might not even realize that we have them, but we need to start to do the work because we are really working towards a less oppressive traditional education system, less traditional, less oppressive system where there was a lot of lack of inclusion of many, many peoples. And so we want to make sure that we are including all children and make sure that these beliefs apply to all children in our classrooms. So when things go wrong, we want to ask ourselves some questions. So I'm not going to read all of these. I'm going to give you a moment to do it. But as we engage in some teaching over the course of the semester, I'm going to invite you to reflect like this. For example, did you set and maintain a climate to learn from mistakes and failures, or did you only focus on the correct solution and not the process? So take a moment to read these and think about which ones you need to continue to work on. And I will invite you to go back to this chart as you enter the classroom to see if some of these are more powerful for you than others. All right. So we want to think about, as an educator with a growth mindset, how might you interpret and apply the following chart? So we've had a lot of discussion over the past few months about learning loss, and it really is a deficit model of instruction. So we are going to invite you to think about the students as having understandings, and they are where they are, and we need to get to know what their thinking is and take them from there. So take a look at a gap-driven model, which really is about deficit thinking, versus a student-driven model where we build opportunities to get to know students' thinking, grow their thinking, and also celebrate their thinking. I'll give you a couple minutes to take a look. All right. So we're also talking, you might be wondering, well, what is the traditional teaching? That's typically the workbook, the flashcards, memorizing the facts. We in this particular section, I am supporting cognitively guided instruction, which is also known as CGI. Cognitively guided instruction is a theory of practice that came out of the University of Wisconsin at Madison from Dr. Thomas Carpenter, Dr. Elizabeth Venema, and Dr. Megan Franke, who is currently at UCLA. So it is a way of thinking about teaching mathematics, and it can actually go into other strands in your classroom as well. But it's really about deep beliefs in the brilliance of young people and about commitment to making space for people to make sense of the math, make meaning of the math, and build connections rather than teaching procedures. So the CGI principled idea that we are going to focus on today, of the 7, is every kid comes to math class knowing some mathematics. And when we truly believe this principled idea, it actually shifts how we approach students, because we are not seeing ourselves as the lifeguard trying to fix them. We are actually trying to get to know about their thinking and their brilliance and creating space for that to flourish and thrive. So we're going to enter in a number sense and reasoning routine that creates space for all students to access the content. So number sense and reasoning routines are something that's valuable in the classroom, and we use them as warm-ups or cool downs. So you can use it at the beginning of your math or at the end. It's about 5 to 15 minutes daily. You can even take it outside of the math block, which we'll talk about later. But it creates space for all learners to access the content in some way. There's a low floor or high ceiling from Joe Boller at Stanford. They are always intentional in design and objective. They can be used to front load content, surface ideas, support thinking, or review. They create fun and safe spaces for lively discourse. They improve engagement, confidence, and disposition. They can be in the math block or separate from the math block. Usually TK to 2, they pull the number sense and reasoning routines out of the math block just because kids can't sit for that long. But oftentimes grades 4, 5, 6, 7 up through 12, they put the number sense and reasoning routines as a warm-up in the math block, or maybe even a cool down. And number sense and reasoning routines serve as a low anxiety formative assessments for teachers. So when students are responding, what are they responding? Are they looking at colors? Are they looking at the magnitude of the number? Are they looking at shapes? Are they looking at relationships, patterns? What are they lifting out of what we are looking at? And they are sharing, through their sharing, you are getting to know more about their thinking. So it also helps improve math identities as partial understandings and layered thinking processes are valued. We give kids so much time and space in reading and writing to learn how to read and to learn how to write properly. And oftentimes, math facts are expected to be finite and learned in as early as first grade. Well, I'm going to invite you to think about that in a different way, that there are connections that kids are making and their learning is layered and it takes place over time. And when we give them time and space to learn those ideas and understand the relationships, their learning is much deeper. And not everyone has to get it because the concepts will be revisited over a period of days or periodically in the year. So I'm going to just make a caveat statement that in this course, we will engage with mathematical ideas as adult learners and as educators. So you are invited to participate with enthusiasm and thoughtfulness. And here's what I'm going to say. We as teachers need to engage in the same tasks that we are asking our students to do so that we understand how they will feel when we ask them to do it. It also helps us get mistakes out of our tasks if they're there. So this number sense and reasoning routine is called What Do You Notice? What Do You Wonder? You can do this on the same day if you want. When I teach first grade, I do the notice on one day to help kids take stock and really dig deep into their observations. And then we do the wondering on the second day, helping kids understand the difference between a statement and a question. But upper grades and even in second grade, I do it on the same day. So I'm going to invite you to take a look at this image and think about what you notice. And think about if anything mathematical comes to mind. In a moment, I'm going to show you the Jamboard where you're going to be putting your noticings. And then I'm going to ask you, what do you wonder? And I want you to think as you engage in this activity, where is the math? How do these noticings and wonderings leverage the space that we can go back and engage in some mathematics? So you're going to go to a Jamboard, which again is on the links document for today. And you are going to just simply put your notice and wondering there. So you can put a Post-it and say, there are, 4 legs on the chairs. And then you hit save and it puts it there, and you can make it smaller if you want. They all tend to populate in the upper left. So you might want to put it there and then move it. Okay. Alternatively, you can just type the text. There are 4 tables. Okay, whatever. Maybe there are 4. Yeah, looks like there are 4, maybe 5. I think there are actually 5. So you can also type it in. So I'm going to invite you to go do that now. And when we come back in video number 3, we'll talk a little bit more. Have fun.